I'm Shannon Martin. Love and solidarity on display in a big way in Toronto as more than 2 million people fill the streets at the Pride Parade. Why the community and allies say Pride celebrations are especially critical this year. Plus,
win a historical moment.
On June 26, voters have a clear choice.
It's almost here. We are only hours away now from Toronto electing a new mayor. What you need to know before the big day.
Before, being Filipino didn't mean anything. Now it's everything that I'm proud of.
It's Filipino Heritage Month. We'll introduce you to some young Torontonians infusing their culture into the city's arts and business scene.
This is CBC Late Night News.
The parade may be over, but Pride is still very much underway tonight. You're looking live at Nathan Phillips Square. A number of performers taking the stage tonight, including the headliner, electro pop star Lights. Now, she's just wrapped up her set, but the crowd is still going strong there. We'll have more on Pride in a moment. But first, it's almost finally here in a matter of hours. Polls open as Toronto chooses a new mayor. In a flurry of last-minute polls, Anna Bailao appears to be closing the gap, but Olivia Chow still leads the pack. Clara Pasica shows us how they spent their final few hours campaigning.
Candidates have done all they can to make the most of the final 24 hours. Mark Saunders focusing his messaging on avoiding vote splitting, all in an effort to stop Olivia Chow.
Brad, Mitzi, and Anthony are not going to be able to beat Olivia Chow. I can. So I'm asking you, if you're thinking of voting for Anthony Fiore or Brad Bradford or Mitzi Hunter, to lend me your vote.
Some candidates stopped by the city's Pride celebrations, shaking hands and snapping pictures.
Win a historical moment where we could open up City Hall and make sure that everybody belongs. Just like today, where every one of you belongs. No matter who you are, right?
But tomorrow will be the big day to get out the vote. Anna Bailao says her team has made over 2 million calls and knocked on hundreds of thousands of doors.
We will have hundreds of volunteers tomorrow on election day to make sure that we got every vote to the polls.
Canadian Muslim Vote has been working this weekend, encouraging people to cast a ballot tomorrow, and they're sharing some words of wisdom.
We encourage everybody to have a detailed plan going out on the day. Include their family members because, not only does it help with numbers, but also helps with support and accountability that you know that you're going to vote with your partner or you're going to vote with a family member.
And for young voters,
if all young people can come together and vote, all young people can showcase to the city and to the world that we have power and that we need people to listen to us because this is our future and this is also our city. And we have every right to be a part of this and making sure that the policies that we want to see implemented get implemented.
Tomorrow is the big day where voters will have the chance to determine who will soon be occupying the office behind me. Remember that you don't need to be registered in advance to vote, and if you've misplaced your voting card, that shouldn't be an issue. Polls open beginning at 10 a.m. and you can vote as long as you are in line by 8 p.m. Clara Pasica, CBC News, Toronto.
Still ahead, we check in with City Hall reporter Sean Jeffords. He's been tracking this campaign since the very beginning, his standout moments and what he's expecting the day after the vote. Stay with us for that conversation coming up a little later on in the show. Well, to the other big story tonight, a massive show of love and solidarity as the Pride Parade took over Toronto streets. It's one of the largest Pride festivals in the world. Meg Roberts takes us there.
It's already Canada's largest Pride Parade, but organizers say this year is the biggest it's ever been.
We're expecting over Pride Month, 2.7 million people would have visited Toronto specifically to celebrate Pride.
The parade featured 250 groups with more than 40,000 marchers, with different reasons as to why they celebrate.
I think I'm here for the younger generation as well, because I've already been through all the stuff that they've been through. So I think it's important to show them that there is hope and that if you believe in yourself, that things will be okay.
More than now than ever, we need this type of visibility for people who are kids, people who are, still closeted, people who aren't sure of who they are. I think it's really important to make sure everybody knows that they feel like they belong.
Happy Pride!
For some, the day provides an opportunity to reflect on the progress made.
I would not have worn this in the 90s, but I think also, just even I got a belly furtado going on, so I wasn't even this took me a long time to accept. So I think just getting to that point where I can wear something rainbow, I can wear this and not be afraid of someone attacking me for it.
In the name of love, because you are love, and in all your many other names we pray. Amen.
The Metropolitan Community Church of Toronto holding its 31st Pride celebration service, a safe space for anyone wishing to pray.
And when you can bring your full self and not do like so many people have to do on Sunday mornings and pretend to be this different version of yourself to come to church, it creates such a more authentic and loving experience.
The parade winding up here at Nathan Phillips Square. The festivities have been ongoing for the past couple of weeks. Of course, today, the big event. People here just trying to soak up that last little bit of celebration. Meg Roberts, CBC News, Toronto.
You heard Meg say it. Toronto's Pride is the largest in Canada. This year, though, after a rise in hate crimes and anti-LGBTQ views, organizers say their security costs have skyrocketed. Philip Lee Shannock has that part of the story.
Well, organizers say the Toronto Pride Parade is safe. A recent climate of LGBTQ hate in Canada and abroad has pushed up their costs.
When you start seeing a lot of online hate, you have to redirect how you're doing things. You have to redirect funding. You have to redirect energy and time and efforts to ensure that you're creating a space.
According to StatsCan, hate crimes targeting people for their sexual orientation are on the rise. 2021 saw a 64% jump in reported incidents from the year before. Organizers say policing costs have doubled, while insurance costs are 5 times higher than last year. Without $1.5 million in last-minute emergency funding from the federal government, the biggest Pride celebration in Canada would be forced to cut events. But critics say the LGBTQ community has faced challenges like this before. It's what's brought this community together for decades. And they say the federal government shouldn't be bailing organizers out. This queer historian blames the funding shortfall on chronic mismanagement.
They've had a full year to put this festival together, and they've only now just come forward in this crisis demanding millions of dollars from the federal government. We never needed millions of dollars. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we held this festival on this street, right here. We don't need it.
But organizers point out that the federal funding is not just for Toronto, but for Montreal, Vancouver, and dozens of smaller Pride events across Canada. And parade goers say threats won't stop them from celebrating their freedom to love who they want, because hate has no place here. Philip Lee Shannock, CBC News, Toronto.
We have sad news from the world of sports. A former CFL running back who grew up in Toronto has died after a battle with cancer. Darren Diedrich was just 44 years old, born in Jamaica and raised in Toronto. He won 3 Grey Cup titles over his 10-year career. In 2014, he was diagnosed with a rare but aggressive form of lymphoma. He retired from the game, but went on to coach with the Toronto Argos in 2017. You saw it here first last night. People across Ontario are still unable to log into their Petro-Canada accounts. It started Friday. Petro-Can said on social media last night that the website and app are temporarily unavailable for customers to log in. They say they're working to resolve the issue and apologize for the inconvenience, but haven't said when the problem will be fixed. Once again, smoke from Quebec's wildfires can be seen. This morning, a website tracking international conditions ranked Montreal's air quality the worst of any major world city. Rugby competitions and a triathlon there were canceled earlier today. Now, Ottawa also experiencing high-risk conditions. 2 events were canceled there as well as all city-run outdoor programs. That footage there makes it clear, Sophia, and I know you've been talking about this the last couple of days. Really bad out there in some parts.
Yeah, this is atrocious and downright dangerous air quality, but luckily things are going to improve. But the scope and scale of this is still massive. 7 million hectares in Canada burned by wildfires, 2 million of those hectares in Quebec alone. So this is a lot of smoke still to deal with. 7 will still be the horrid air quality Monday morning in communities not only like the nation's capital region in Montreal, but also in northeastern Ontario and in Sudbury as well. But this will dissipate to just lowly level 4, luckily, by Monday afternoon for many of you around the capital region, because you'll be trading that poor air quality for the potential of some severe storms. That rain will dampen some of that low-level smoke, though. Watch it dissipate and head up off to the north for more, again, poor air quality for many of you in the Timmins and the Chapleau region for your Monday evening and Monday afternoon. For the rest of us in the Southern Great Lakes Basin, it's a very unsettled week ahead. Heat, humidity feels like into the mid-30s, and that storm risk for multiple days on end, beginning with a Monday that kind of looks like this. Popcorn storms all day. And then that afternoon risk for those severe storms in the nation's capital region. I will detail the heat, the humidity, and the storm risk and when things can clear up a little bit in the long range. Shannon.
Okay, thanks, Sophia.
You're welcome.
Well, turning to some big international news this weekend, a Russian mercenary army are returning to their bases tonight after a whirlwind revolt that saw them march towards the capital and threaten the power of Russian President Vladimir Putin himself. Video shows the Wagner fighters being cheered after retreating overnight under the deal that diffused the apparent insurrection. Their leader is apparently free, his forces forgiven. The U.S. Secretary of State says the turmoil could take months. Okay, so by this time tomorrow, we should know who is Toronto's new mayor. Since the campaign's surprising start, we've been checking in weekly with our City Hall reporter, Sean Jeffords. Tonight, he shares some of the standout moments from the last couple of months. You have been following this thing since its very surprising start. I think it was a Friday night when John Tory resigned.
That's right.
All the ups and downs, the incredibly long list of candidates. What has stood out for you as we've watched this all unfold?
You know, the field has been remarkable. 102 candidates, it's a record. But then even beyond that, that top tier of 6 or 7 candidates who had a bit of name recognition and a team behind them, that is noteworthy. And what it's produced is this pretty big policy debate that I don't think we really had in the fall. So if you were yearning for a lot of policy and crunchy ideas to dig into, you got it in this election, and I think it made it a bit more exciting. And what we have now is a real range of ideas and directions in front of us that voters can choose from. And depending on your appetite for change and how you think the future of the city should move, it's there to be had. And voters just need to kind of make a decision and weigh in and choose their candidate and get out and vote now.
Yes. So Monday night, election night. Tell us where we can keep watching and listening to your reporting.
Shannon, you know, it's going to be me and our whole team at CBC Toronto. We're going to have reporters in the field. We have a web special and a radio special. Both of them start after polls close at 8 p.m. So I'll be involved with both, offering analysis, watching the results come in. And I think it's going to be a really exciting night. I hope people join us.
An exciting night, but also, you know, we have been looking so much ahead to Election Day on Monday. But when you think about Tuesday, I can picture you with your extra large black coffee. But, you know, like, that's just equally as an intense day, I would say.
The work isn't over. And I think what we'll turn to is, depending on what the results look like and who wins, we'll start to dig into their agenda and where they go. I mean, that person will have a lot of work in front of them. They've got to hire a staff. They have to stand up in office and make a lot of really key committee appointments down here to get their administration running really quickly. And within weeks, there will actually be a council meeting. And I think you're going to start to see that candidate put together an agenda, at least in earnest, to set a direction for the next couple of years, and the runway is short. You know, this is not a full term by a conventional sense. Just because John Tory resigned, you know, about a year in, or almost a little short of a year in here, and this new mayor has a shortened runway as a result. So they're going to want to get to work really quickly, I think.
Right. Well, it's all very exciting. We have appreciated your analysis every week with us. We wish you all the best on Monday. Going to be watching Monday, going to be watching Tuesday too.
Thanks, Shannon. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
As we just heard from Sean, tomorrow is the big day. CBC Toronto has got you covered. You can watch our election special on our website, cbc.ca/Toronto, and you can also find it on YouTube, Facebook, and CBC Gem. It starts at 8 o'clock sharp, right after the polls close. Well, it's not just election time and pride. June also marks Filipino Heritage Month. Miriam Adaya met up with some young Torontonians who are celebrating their roots through their art, food, and clothing.
Before, being Filipino didn't mean anything. Now it's everything that I'm proud of, and it's the fuel of everything that I'm doing now.
Silk Lorena and his team are consistently building bridges between Manila and Toronto. They collaborate with local manufacturers in the Philippines, creating streetwear. With their ideas and projects in food, creativity, and fashion, these Filipino Torontonians say they are helping shape the city's culture and fight assimilation by being unapologetically themselves.
We're trying to find a way to be the bridge as life designers to connect the two and hopefully, you know, benefit both sides, both the Western world and also the Philippines specifically. Everything we do has the Filipino spirit in it, like marinated in it, and where it's genuine and it isn't a gimmick.
Justin Bella is doing the same through his restaurant BB's and his event space, Sorry Not Sorry. He stays connected to his roots through family and food.
I really wanted to leave our mark in, you know, the brunch scene. I feel like silogs are like such an important part to the start of our days, and I had such fond memories of having those at my Lola's place. So it's really a shout out to my Lola, who, like, you know, always loved to host people. And the way that you showed hospitality was by feeding them. So I think that's where all of this really originates.
Luann Ronquillo unexpectedly became an ice cream shop owner over the pandemic. She's often inspired by her culture and upbringing to introduce her clients to new flavors and products.
We have chocolate, we have vanilla, we have mint chip, but then we have things like mais con yellow. We did a special collab flavor with ube. And, you know, there's Vietnamese flavors, there's Singaporean flavors, so just trying to tie all of that in with keeping our flavors and our profiles unique. I think it's just important for us to all have a platform. So, you know, as a Filipino person, I don't really see a lot of other Filipino pastry chefs and ice cream makers out there.
Motivated by the sacrifices of their immigrant parents, these young Filipinos are creating spaces for others to flourish. Like many others, Abby Albino didn't see many people who looked like her in the basketball and sneaker industries. Now, as a co-founder of a nonprofit called Rice Tribe, she is empowering the next generation.
My story has always been about wanting to work in sports marketing, but only seeing white males work in sports marketing. So for me, it was incredibly discouraging. So now that I'm sitting in a position where I have been working in sports marketing for the last decade, I know that hopefully will be encouraging to another Filipino Canadian coming up.
These creatives and entrepreneurs come from Toronto, Scarborough, Whitby, and Pickering by way of the Philippines. Through the power of representation, their hope is to inspire the next generation to celebrate themselves even more.
Being from Toronto, it's, you know, you don't have to be Filipino to understand the Filipino experience, and vice versa for every culture. So I think that's what's great about Toronto, is everyone is kind of Filipino.
Miriam Adaya, CBC News, Toronto.
Before we head to break, we want to take you to Mississauga next. That's where Toronto Raptors' Scotty Barnes hosted a basketball youth camp this weekend. The The two-day event welcomed kids ages 8 to 16 from all skill levels. How cool is this? Campers got to play alongside Barnes, learning from the 2022 Rookie of the Year. That is something they will remember. Well, stay with us. We're heading into a quick commercial break. Finally tonight, a huge street festival. It's wrapping up its celebrations.
This is something that we've been building up in the area for the last 16 years. It's always been about community, it's always been about togetherness and having a great time.
This is the annual Fair-Baked Summerfest featuring food, a carnival, European bazaar, and free popcorn. Now, there was also the adorable Super Dogs, a chance for puppies to showcase all their talent. The three-day celebration took place on Eglinton West near Dufferin. Sophia is back. The weather cooperated for all the fun happening outside this weekend.
Yeah, it was super hit or miss, though, for a lot of people. But yes, some of the big festivities, rather, went off without a hitch. This evening, rather, different story. Big squall line we were watching through the Windsor and London area. It's moving through the Oakville, Hamilton area as we speak. We had severe thunderstorm warnings, and this was actually a squall line that was tornado watched in parts of the Michigan area. It's coming through our neck of the woods right around the Mississauga, Etobicoke area right now. Just heavy rain and some really gusty winds, not like the pea-size hail that we had earlier and the 80-kilometer-an-hour winds in the Windsor area. Just part and parcel of this hot, humid atmosphere that we will have really for the next couple days. Popcorn storms tomorrow, torrential rains possible in the nation's capital region. That'll help that poor air quality that we talked about a little bit earlier. But the humidity will really be with us for the long haul this upcoming work week. The next 3 days, unsettled, rounds of storms, showers for Tuesday and Wednesday, and that feels like that will be approaching the 30s with that heat and humidity that will be plentiful over the next few days. Thursday and Friday are the best days of this upcoming week's forecast. There's a look at your storm risk for Monday. Mostly non-severe storms are possible. Not everybody is going to see a storm, but of course some of those bigger storms around the Ottawa region. As for next weekend, the big long weekend looks to be tilting towards the unsettled edge right now. But of course, that's a ways out. Until then, enjoy the sticky, soupy, there I said it, humid air, Shannon.
There we said it again, soupy.
I had to throw it in one more time.
It's so descriptive and accurate, though.
You'll be thinking of me all week now.
Thanks, Sophia. That's our show for you tonight. Thanks for watching. One last reminder, we've got you covered on Election Day tomorrow. For the latest results, you can head to our website, cbc.ca/Toronto, for more on that. Before we go, we take you back to Nathan Phillips Square, where Pride celebrations were taking place tonight. That's Lights headlining the big show. We'll see you soon.